Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gen X Dad and his Gen Z Teens podcast. This is a program that takes a lighthearted look at generational differences about all sorts of topics. We explore everything from pop culture to history to politics, but usually only in a very shallow level. We don't aim to be controversial or to be the authoritative voice on any topic, but actually today we're going to take on a topic with a little more meat on it than what we usually have in the past here. In general, though, we're here to talk about things that we think that are important and that we'll have fun talking about. So our topic for today, we're going to talk about guns. And so to start out with, as I've mentioned on previous podcasts, I am from rural Louisiana. So I was brought up in a pretty open gun culture that revolved mostly, all around hunting. I remember I got my first gun, which was a BB gun, when I was, probably first or second grade, something to take with me when I went hunting with my dad. My dad was big into bird hunting, so doves, ducks, that's mostly where we did our hunting. He wasn't really into big game type stuff. But as most brand new teens, around my 13th birthday, 12th, 13th birthday, I did get a shotgun. 20 gauge sight gun. That was typically a rite of passage. Most everybody my age had one because all of us, for the most part, went hunting with our dads or uncles or grandfathers. And so that was the first gun, which we still have actually, we still have both of those guns. We still have the BB gun and we still have the shotgun. Interesting. I'm not a big guy for NRA type of issues, but I did have take several safety classes because that was the thing. You didn't have to have a license when you were young, but if you had a gun, you had to at least have a safety course. And so I do remember as a kid doing all the NRA safety classes. Other than that, what was interesting too in rural Louisiana, which does not happen anymore, but I had a couple of friends growing up, especially in high school, that had being rural Louisiana and a bunch of farm kids, they had gun racks on the back of their trucks, and so it was not unusual that somebody might have a gun in their vehicle at school. Nowadays, that has certainly stopped. I'm not entirely sure how they police that, but that was something. It was not unusual. But an interesting aspect, because I certainly know that would not go at your guys' school today. And again, I doubt it goes at my school at all. But the reason that a lot of those kids had them was they may have been gone hunting early in the morning or were going hunting after school. So again, not that unusual. Transition that when things started really changing, I would say would be the Columbine shooting in the late 90s. Now, what was interesting about Columbine, I had a good friend from the academy that was from Littleton, Colorado. And again, he didn't go to that school. He didn't know the kids because we were several years past that. But the fact is, I think I drove by that school once at least, but we used to hang out, go and visit his parents and stuff in Littleton. And so it really kind of hit home a little bit more than I would say than probably for most people who were obviously shocked by it. But I've always felt like there was a little bit of a connection because I enjoyed the town. And again, just a suburb of Denver that is suburbia as much as suburbia is. And that tragedy really, unfortunately, ushered in a whole host of shootings and school things like that. Otherwise, as an adult, again, I'm not a big gun person. Again, I still have my guns that I grew up with. I got those when I pretty much got out on my own. But in the military, I would qualify once a year with a 9mm. Be honest, was not a great shot. Used to joke that if I ever got shot down and behind enemy lines, if I started shooting at somebody, I would probably just make them angry. So it'd be better if they came close and I just throw it at them. However, in my F-16, I was pretty good with the 20mm Vulcan cannon, so it makes it a lot easier when it's a big Gatling gun. Anyway, but I wanted to talk and get your guys' take on this because I have tried to the degree that I could here where we live now to introduce guns so that at least you're not mystified by them or scared of them or obsessed with them. But my older teen actually have done quite a bit more. You want to talk a little bit about what we've done for you growing up to introduce you or get you comfortable with being around a gun?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I started almost in a similar way to you. I remember when I was much younger, when we would go to Granddad's house, we would, shoot the BB guns. And we would do that. I remember that was a big part. We'd make our own little targets, and we'd set them up in the backyard, and we shoot them with the BB gun, and see how good we could get. So yeah, that was kind of my introduction. And then eventually, we went out to the range, and I actually got to shoot our 20 gauge shotgun. And I was able to do some trapping kind of skeet shooting out there, which was pretty fun. Launching the clay pigeons and trying to hit them with the shotgun. So yeah, I mean, that was fun. It was kind of a big part of, at least in that time of my life. And it was cool. It was something that was fun and something I'd like to do again.
All right. Now, my younger teen, just for various reasons, did not quite have the same time. But talk a little bit about, you've had a more limited experience with actual real guns, but we have gone out shooting a couple times.
The main thing I can think of is when we went shoot pistols at the indoor shooting range, and then when we went out and shot like the clay pigeons with our shotgun. That barely works. But other than that, I would credit my decent aim to playing first-person shooter games in VR. That helps quite a bit for some reason.
Okay, so let's just dabble on that for a second. So again, don't hate on the 20 gauge, man. It's like a 40-year-old gun. That being said, you guys, based on the games nowadays, Call of Duty, I mean, I'll let you talk to them, but I mean, you can spout out. I mean, you've become pretty educated on guns, do you think?
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty educated on them. Yeah, it's just they're everywhere now.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of, once as you're playing these games, most of them kind of use the same type of, your traditional kind of military weapons. So you kind of get familiar as you play because they all basically kind of use the same guns in each game. And kind of like he said, they actually do quite a bit help with your aiming and just kind of handling of a gun, even though, you're using a keyboard and a mouse or controller or whatever. It still does, I think, really does translate into real life when you're actually handling a real gun, and I think it at least has done that for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it showed. I mean, you picked it up pretty quick at the range. And again, so far, I mean, the range has been all that we've ever really done. I do know my younger teen wants to go to and try some a little more exotic weapons, but we actually have an amazing range out where we live that's easy to get to. Our problem has just been time. We are pretty swamped with commitments in the evenings a lot of times, but I do think it's a fun hobby, and you can do a lot of stuff even as an adult. I mean, they talk about golf or tennis or that, but a lot of adults also do trap and skeet shooting. And so that is some. Is that when you talk about continuing on? I mean, actually, hopefully we'll have more time. But it's a lot of places have ranges to go to. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, I think it's kind of one of those. Just again, it's an activity you can go out and do. Whether you're with your friends or whoever. I mean, it's something to go do. It's fun. You can bring some food and just kind of be out there and shoot.
Okay, what about you think?
Yeah, it's a fun thing to do, especially when in my opinion, when you try out different things. That's always fun, and just seeing how they feel and how they work and all that.
So one of the things that we have not done that I did as a kid is hunting. Now, part of the reason I stepped away from hunting was, in a lot of cases, I don't really like a real gamey flavor. And then as far as cleaning and dressing the animals and stuff like that when you bring them home or wherever, I didn't really enjoy that as a kid. And so I've never been really that all into hunting. I do know I wanted to take you out. I never could quite crack the code from our urban area to get out to it, and then kind of COVID hit with a lot of things when you were kind of in the optimal age to take you and introduce you. What do you think about, though, trying to go hunting, or is that something that you would like to try later on?
Yeah, I think eventually it's something that could be fun. It's just to go out and do. It's, something kind of new. In between, that and range shooting, I think it's those are two good kind of safe ways to, have some experience with guns and use them in I think, a more positive way.
All right, what do you think about hunting?
It seems pretty fun. I would like to go try it at some point, and it just seems like a cool thing to do.
Okay, so I got to try and figure that part out. All right, let's talk about the other side, though, which is something that you guys have done basically forever, your whole entire school experience, which I never did. I have never done a lockdown drill. That was not something we did in the 80s. Can you talk a little bit about your thoughts on lockdown drills?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's something I think we've all become very desensitized to. 'Cause, when you really think about it, it's pretty freaking crazy, that, you're at school having to drill what's going to happen if someone comes in trying to kill you, which is, yeah, and it's kind of a crazy thing, but we're all pretty desensitized to it. Like, it's something we've been doing since forever, since we've always been in school. So, at this point, it's more of a chore than anything whenever we have the drill, because it just gets in the way of whatever we're doing. So it's like, whatever, we'll do this, we'll close the door and whatever. But, the idea behind it is still pretty insane.
Hey, what do you think about it?
Yeah, kind of what he said. It's just a chore, something that we have to do. I feel like most people our age, don't really care that much about the drill, but it's still a crazy thing that we have to drill it.
All right, but let me ask you, you guys have been put into, not drills, but for whatever reason, thankfully nothing ever happened at your schools, but whether it's a soft or a hard lockdown, can you just talk about when that, no kidding, happened? One was actually fireworks in the school.
Yeah, no, and I remember that, there was a kid that set off firecrackers in our school, and people thought it was gunshots, and people went freaking running out. Now, thankfully, this was actually before school had actually started, so it could have been, I think, worse, but that sort of made things at least a little better. But we've had cases before where we've had to go into actual soft or hard lockdowns, and to an extent, it can be worrying. Now, thankfully, thanks to social media and everyone having a phone, usually we can all figure out what's going on pretty quickly, while it's going on. But in the cases where you're not really sure, no one can really figure it out, it can get a little, you can kind of feel the tension in the room. And, some people handle it better than others. There's some people who get really freaked out by it, and understandably so. You never know if it's just, some kids fighting or someone freaking coming in with an assault rifle trying to freaking shoot up the school. So it can be scary.
Okay. Along those lines, so now try and put yourself in. You interact, by definition, all your friends are Gen Z. Can you just give a sense, generation, what do you think the opinion of your friends in regards to guns and perhaps the future?
I don't know. I think it varies. I think as it does with every generation, there's some people who are, hard stance of, we should get rid of guns. There's some people who are hard stance of everyone should be able to get a gun no matter what. I think for the most part, most people are pretty moderate with it. I have friends that go out and hunt, and, own guns and stuff. I think a pretty decent amount of people have families that own guns. So I think for the most part, it's, sure, you can go get a gun, but, you got to be responsible, and you shouldn't be a freaking psycho and be able to get a gun.
All right, what do you think?
I don't really have any comments on this. He kind of said everything that I wanted to.
Okay, so you don't find your friends any different about that same thing. There's a mix of the whole gamut, and don't be a psycho, right? To quote your brother. Okay. Any parting thoughts? Anything else left to say? I think that's it that we're going to cover as the level that we're going to cover it on this podcast. Again, very different. Unfortunately, very different in the way that we address it because of so many terrible things that have happened over the last 2 to 3 decades that were different from us in Gen X growing up. It is unfortunate, but it is the world we live in. So very interested. If any of you have any comments or anything to say on it, please share. It's a very serious topic that we all, certainly in this country, all have to figure out a path on, where we're going to present our kids or help our kids deal with the reality of walking out the door in a country that is very heavily armed and the availability of guns that are out there. So with that, we'll end on that. Thank you for listening. This has been the Gen X Dad and his Gen Z teens. We'll catch you next week. Bye.